All right, so if I did choose to separate this out, welcome back. We are going to move on. The different kinds of connective tissue. Uh, Out of all those things we just got done talking about in the previous video, those were the individual structures that the building materials used to make different kinds of connective tissue. Those are the bricks and mortar, right? But I didn't actually tell you the different kinds of connective tissue based on what their jobs are. So we're going to go into that. We're going to separate out. We got two different kinds of connective tissue, two basic kinds. Connective tissue proper and specialized connective tissue. Specialized connective tissue is self-explanatory. They have a very special job to do. But connective tissue proper is kind of like a very British way of saying the normal connective tissue, right? This is the regular connective tissue, right? The boring stuff here, right? And we're gonna have a couple kinds of connective tissue proper, right? The regular connective tissue. We have loose connective tissue, we're gonna have dense connective tissue. Loose connective tissue is gonna be found beneath most epithelial tissue, found between muscles, anywhere where we need a lot of flexibility. You're gonna see a lot of fibroblasts in that area because you're being held down by those fibers, and the matrix that's gluing everything together is going to be very gel-like, containing a lot of collagenous and elastic fibers all kind of mixed together. So that's where you feel your skin pull on your skin. You see it moves around very easily, right? It's not coming off of you by any means, but it is kind of wobbly. You can stretch and pull and move it around. That's because it's very loose connective tissue there. And if you look at this epithelial, underneath that, all that connective tissue we talked about, that's that gel-like looking stuff. Loose connective tissue in between all of the cells. Another kind of regular plain connective tissue is adipose. That's a vocab word. That's just a very fancy word for your fat. I wrote that this is a specialized form of loose connective tissue. Don't get that confused with specialized connective tissue. That's a different category altogether. But adipose is technically loose connective tissue, but it's a very specific job. It is going to be storing your fat. It's going to be storing your extra stuff. If you eat too many carbs, it gets stored in there. Eat too many proteins, gets stored in there. It's also going to be acting as kind of a cushion for you. So you're going to find it beneath your skin for padding and for insulation. It's going to keep you warm. You're going to find it between your muscles because between your muscles and the cartilage, you're going to need a little bit of padding right there. Same thing for behind your eyes. Here's your eyeball. Here's your eyelids closed. And then all up here and all down here is fat for padding. If you get hit in the head, you want that cushion so you don't go blind. And the same thing around your kidneys. That's a real kidney, by the way. Your kidneys are not very well protected. Most of your internal organs are protected by bones. Like your lungs are in your ribs, like very well protected. But if you know anything about boxing, you know that a kidney shot is very illegal because you are not very well protected there. So if you don't have bones, the best we're going to be able to offer is a fat layer. And around your heart as well. Not only is that going to be insulation, but it's also going to be a good source of nutrition. If you see right here, if you're looking at your phone, you're going to like look really close, kind of squint, see where my mouse is pointing. There's a very thick blood vessel right there. And that blood vessel is going to be drawing nutrients from the fat supply to keep your heart going. And also, padding for protection. And you're going to see it around joints for padding as you walk. It's going to be used as a cushion. And your third kind of normal, regular connective tissue is your dense connective tissue. The cells that make it up are mostly fibroblasts because it's so dense because it has just so many fibers. The matrix is going to be very tightly packed full of these collagenous fibers. It's very hard for them to move around. A fine network of elastic fibers give you a little give. But this is going to be used to bind your body parts together. Right? This is going to be the tendons and the ligaments we were talking about. Backing up here, tendons, remember, are attaching this muscle down to this bone. And then your ligament is going to be attaching this bone to this bone. Tendons are muscle to bone, ligaments are bone to bone. We have in other places too. The white of your eyes are actually made out of the same material as your tendons and ligaments. It's actually very, very tough stuff. And remember that, because if we can manage to do this, I don't know what the schedule is going to be like this school year, but if we can manage to get dissections in, we will have an eyeball dissection. I know, don't freak out. It's not as bad. I don't think it's as bad as you think it is. But that white of your eye is actually a lot tougher than you think, and you're going to be very careful about cutting into that. All right, let's go into something a bit more interesting now. Specialized connective tissue. Right? The other stuff was just boring. It's everywhere in your body. But this stuff is having some kind of very special job to do. Cartilage, for instance, being made of chondrocytes, your cartilage cells, oops, all over the place there, looks like glass, and having a whole lot of collagenous fibers because, it's very, very thick stuff, is going to be used for shaping your body. We have different kinds to worry about. Hyaline cartilage, many collagenous fibers, a whole bunch of collagen here, guys, because this is very, 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 very fine, thick stuff. Look, again, this is the glassy one I kept mentioning. You're going to see this at the end of bones so that your bones don't get worn down when they rub past each other in the joints. You're going to find it in your nose. Feel your bridge of your nose right now. Not the tip of your nose. The tip of your nose is very, very soft and bendable, but go up halfway up your nose and it starts feeling like bone. That's not bone. That's cartilage. That's your hyaline cartilage. Then you got elastic cartilage. Not as many collagenous fibers, a lot more elastic fibers. Again, feel that tip of your nose now, that bending, that's the elastic stuff. Your ears as well are elastic. Your larynx, which is your voice box, what's protecting your vocal cords, has a lot of elastic fibers there. Oops. And then we got fibrocartilage. If we do manage to get into the classroom, take a look at the skeleton I usually have displayed. If you look at his vertebrae, his backbones, it's not all one big bone. It's actually a series of smaller bones. And in between them are these discs. That's your fibrocartilage. These are shock absorbers. When you're moving around, those individual bones of your back are kind of colliding into each other, crushing into each other. So to avoid your backbones from wearing away, we have these really tough fibrocartilage discs. You also have it in your knees as well, because you do a lot of it. There's a lot of impacts in your knees when you're walking and running. Oh, I forgot I had the picture here. So then there's the fibrocartilage discs in the skeleton. Bone is also a type of connective tissue. And this is the most rigid one. In fact, it's not even going to be bothered with collagen. It's going right to something even tougher, calcium. Calcium's a mineral, guys. It's in rocks, and your bones are made out of this stuff. It's not in and of itself a rock. It's just made out of the same stuff as rocks. And this tough material is being used to support your body, hold your body up. Inside your bones are the stuff called bone marrow. So a lot of it's going to be very fatty. You get some extra fat storage in there, but it's also going to be where you make blood. Yes, you are actually making blood in your bones. That's what the marrow is for. Mostly up here in the joint area. That is where you're going to be making a lot of new blood cells. Oddly enough, red cells don't have a nucleus. They can't go through mitosis. So you have to make each one from scratch inside your bones. What we mentioned in the previous videos is your bone cells, also known as osteocytes, are these black dots. Right? And they form in this circular pattern. And remember again, Bio 1, we talked about protein synthesis, making stuff, and then exocytosis, kicking that stuff out of the cell. Right? That's what's happening here. It is making bone proteins and then kicking it out of the cell where it hardens and becomes bone. Right? That is your osteocyte making your bone material. They form to make a cylinder shape called an osteon. And if I were to take this circle out and pull it out three-dimensionally, you'll see that it's not really a circle, it's a cylinder. And then all of these cylinders that make up all of your bone, we're going to cement together, become one large bone structure. And that's what you're standing on. That's what's supporting your body. It's actually a whole bunch of osteons holding on to each other. All right, moving on again. Blood. Your blood, again, made in your bones, are made up of white cells, red cells, platelets, plasma. We're going to go more detail into all of those things in a future chapter. But the blood's job is to transport things. Right? It's going to your lungs to gather oxygen and transport it across your body. And it's gathering carbon dioxide from your body, from all your muscles, and bringing it back to your lungs so you breathe it out. Doing the same thing with nutrients, gathering nutrients from your digestive system, bringing it all around your body. That is going to help you maintain homeostasis. When you are running out of something, your blood's going to make sure you get more of it. And so here we got some microscope pictures. All the little ones are your red blood cells. Like I said, they don't have a nucleus, so they get to be a lot smaller. The white blood cells do have nuclei, so they're going to be much bigger. And yes, these are white cells. They're purple because of the dye that we use so we can see it. In your body, they are actually white. All right, and that is it for connective tissues. That was a lot longer than I expected it to be, but it is what it is. We are done. So at least we're done with the notes. Go on Google Classroom now, see if I left you any work to do, and I will see you in the next chapter.